I think we're going live. Okay. I think that we are live. I am new to this, everyone, but before you know it, I will have the hang of it. I think we're live on multiple different media platforms right now, but welcome to a very special edition of the Green Nurse podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. As you know, here we share inspirational stories and compelling stories of healing using plant medicines and other progressive modalities that support and nourish the endocannabinoid system. Sometimes we talk about things that people don't like to talk about because these are often topics that need to be discussed to decrease stigma for healing. So before we get started, I want to announce something really, really exciting that's happening in the cannabis nursing space. And if you already didn't know, 2020 is the year of the nurse. And it's been quite a year for so many of us nurses. But the good news is cannabis nurses are rallying across the country, and we're making a huge impact in the cannabis space to shine the light on this sacred plant and how it has helped so many of us personally and professionally with the patients that we care for. So congratulations to Dr. Carrie Clark on making nursing history, as this is the first cannabis nursing textbook that has been written and is available for pre-order on Amazon. The book is called Clark's Cannabis, a Handbook for Nurses. The official release date is going to be in January of 2021. And the part that was so interesting when this came out on the Amazon list, it was in the #1 new releases today for nursing pharmacology. Yesterday, it was in the #1 new releases for oncology nursing. And the day before, it was in the #9 release for nursing textbooks, #21 new release for critical intensive care nursing books, and #79 in new releases for all medical health textbooks. Wow. So I'm really humbled and grateful that I was able to contribute to this book. My experiences as a cannabis nurse by writing a chapter with my colleagues called the Cannabis Nurse Experience. So how does this book fit into tonight's show? Well, it fits in because in chapter 9, the Cannabis Nurse Experience, I profiled cannabis nurses who are leading the parade in cannabis nursing space. And this nurse right here, cannabis nurse Janna Champagne, is one of those nurses. Welcome, Janna. It is so nice to have you back. It's been 2 years since I had you on the original podcast, and we have so much catching up to do.
Oh my gosh, so much. And thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm really excited to be here and catch up. It's been too long.
I know it has been too long. It's like we've, you're on the West Coast, so you're in Oregon, and it's like our, East Coast, West Coast, parallel, we're going to hit the bookends coming through, and before you know it, the whole country will be legalized, we hope, right?
I can't wait. Yes. I just posted yesterday saying most of the country is legal now. Like, why don't we put the burden of regulating on those that insist on continuing to restrict cannabis access, despite the overwhelming research and patient outcomes and unsurpassed safety profile? Like, let's flip it. Let's flip it. Yeah. I think it's time for a flip.
Totally agree with you. I never thought in a million years that I would be doing cannabis nursing, coming from the traditional system, getting caught. I was at Boston College, getting caught for smoking a J behind the bushes. And then 30 years later, I'm standing in Boston College teaching on cannabinoid therapeutics to the graduating nurse practitioner class. It's kind of like mind-boggling, but it's so exciting and so fun. And you've been doing some amazing things over the past few years in the cannabis space. But our viewers, in order for us to get there, because we all didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis nurse. Hey, there's always a compelling back end story that propelled you to move forward in this space. And so your story is beautiful. And I'd be honored to have you share it. So what brought you to cannabis nursing?
Well, it's definitely been a journey. So it actually started back in 2012 when I suffered a major health collapse while working full time in acute care hospital, critical care, and working on my graduate degree and homeschooling my kid with autism. So stress was definitely a factor, but after a year and a half of mainstream approach, I was not getting better at all. And in fact, some of the mainstream recommendations seemed, contraindicated to me. And so I started seeing other answers, and cannabis became my choice for pain, relief, knowing I didn't want to go down that opioid pathway because, opioids kill people even though they're freely available. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to go that route. And cannabis not only alleviated my pain, but it started to rebuild my immune system and helped, reduce my reliance on all the pharmaceuticals and medications I was taking. And so I just saw this huge health turnaround. And one of the big factors that, we don't ever see in mainstream is that cannabis helped to actually seroconvert my autoimmune disease of lupus. So I went from positive for lupus to negative for lupus, which just doesn't happen with the mainstream approach. It was huge.
That's big news. Because
yeah.
To have, and so for people to understand that, can you just like get a little, so when, how do you become lupus negative? So for the new people that are out there, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, in my approach as a holistic nurse and a cannabis nurse with my patients with autoimmune is to try to target what was the trigger to the autoimmune, because you don't just wake up one day and your body starts attacking itself. That's not how it works. There's usually something that causes, the body to kind of, freak out the immune system, and it becomes overzealous and starts attacking your own tissue. And so usually those triggers, in my experience, are immune. They're immune related, like infection or an allergy. And then stress, of course, is another big factor that impacts our immune system. So those are the targets. And for me, it was a lot of allergic and infection causes. And so when I addressed those and also added the cannabis therapy, which I think is huge for autoimmune, because that part of the immune system that self-attacks is T cells, and THC is very adept at reducing T cell activity. So that to this day, THC is the reason I remain negative. It's a huge piece.
I can totally identify with that as well. My autoimmune condition was caused by a gastrointestinal illness that, my autoimmune condition didn't kick in until almost 2 years after I had a huge, severe gastrointestinal illness that landed me in the intensive care unit. Yeah. And it was through having poor nutrition, not absorbing nutrients, not being able to get in the amount of calories, like that whole nutritional deficiency. What ended up happening is my immune system started to attack itself. And I developed a polymyalgia rheumatica, an autoimmune chronic myofascial pain syndrome, which was devastating. So that's what I turned to cannabis to as well, was for, severe chronic debilitating pain that led me spiraling down the drain, I call it, of despair. So
Absolutely.
But you're so lucky that you were able to get to the plant first.
Yes. Well, a year and a half in. Pretty. But yeah, Aristotle said all disease starts in the gut. And we know that 70% of the immune system resides in the gut. So it totally makes sense. It's like when you put these pieces together logically and you disregard the stigma, it makes sense for it to be the first resort for patients, not try all the pharmaceuticals first, let them fail, and then rely on cannabis. So I am that way. I did further down that mainstream path. So
yes. So you started using the plant, you started growing, right? You became a caregiver.
And in between my being sick and growing, my daughter with autism had a puberty crisis, and we began using cannabis. It was huge. Her story is very well documented and actually landed on the cover of a magazine in 2017. That was kind of my coming out of the cannabis closet moment as a nurse. So that was really interesting. And then I began growing also and serving patients and realizing that not all strains are created equal for every indication or condition. And so that was huge too. And then I began counseling nurses and educating and helping them optimize their cannabis therapy. And for about 5 years, I saw thousands of patients and helped walk them through, targeting their condition, understanding the research and what it said, screening their pharmaceuticals, and really just helping them reach their goals and making sure their goals were reasonable. So that's been my work through integrated holistic care for 5 years.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And so then that's evolved, because you've been doing a lot of things. There's like a huge list that we need to go through. That's integrative holistic care has evolved into a lot of different things. So, taking care of patients, as nurses, taking care of patients, as many as we've taken care of, we kind of know what patients want and need. And so what are we doing as nurses? We're problem solvers, right? So we find out what patients want and need, and we bring it to them. And that's what you've done.
Yes. Following patient needs has led me to everything I'm doing today. And, unfortunately, in the state of Oregon, a year ago, our state board of nursing said that nurses are not able to educate cannabis patients in the state without possibly losing our license. So I had to stop seeing patients. But then I began focusing on, okay, what can I do to reach more patients? I can educate medical professionals. And so I have accredited content, cannabis content for nurses on Cannabis Nurses Network. And that led into becoming faculty for John Patrick University. And I have my first college level semester long cannabis course launching in January of 2021. And unfortunately, Carrie's book is publishing just a little too late. I wasn't able to use it, but I so wanted to.
Yes. Well, you're going to have your own book someday, I'm sure, Janna.
I don't know.
In your spare time, right?
I think I'm not done yet. I'm not ready to write it. I need to be done first. And I don't know if I'll ever get there. So we'll see.
Right. So John Patrick University, will you tell our viewers about that?
Yeah, so John Patrick University is also in cooperation with the Institute of Cannabinoid Medicine. They are cooperating to bring college level cannabis education to future practitioners of all kinds. And actually, the course I'm teaching in January is part of their bachelor's in nutrition practitioner program. And so, which I think just makes so much sense. Like, cannabinoids are vital nutrients. They belong in the nutrition program. They're also bringing into their integrative nutrition or their integrative medicine and nutrition, and also their oncology programs, which I think is just brilliant, with a lot more in the works that I can't talk about publicly yet. But yeah, just wait. It gets even better. It gets even juicier.
That's congratulations. I mean, I just think that's amazing. It's a big win for cannabis nurses. Woo, right? Across the country. Good job. Really, that's just fascinating. The other thing I really, really love that you do, and you've inspired me to actually take it to another step further, is Cannabis Nurse Approved. You're creating formulas. You started formulating. A lot of us nurses, like I said, we're in the field, we're talking to patients, we're sourcing out what they want and need. We're asking critical questions, doing motivational interviewing, and really targeting. Patients will tell you exactly what they need if you ask them the right questions. That's the bottom line. And then you have the research to substantiate it. So you've been actually in the formulating products for companies, and you have your own product line called Unity Formulas.
I do. It just launched very recently, and it's basically the culmination of the last 5 years working with patients and, learning the different products and seeing how different products respond for them, and then doing the research and realizing not all products are created equal for medicine. Not even medical quality products. One formulation is not bound to meet every patient's needs. So it's about individualizing. And so I began custom blending with my suppliers for my patients. I have never benefited from the sales of any commission. I still don't, because all of the proceeds from Unity formulas actually feed Autism Safe Haven, which is a nonprofit that we're going to be talking about, focused on cannabis inclusive autism care resources. So, but CBDformulas.com. They're symptom targeted. It's CBD hemp. They meet the flow criteria, flower derived, lab tested, organic, and whole plant spectrum, which is what we began teaching patients to seek way before we ever had a product line. So it's really ensuring medical quality, ensuring that they're getting the most benefits and getting the most entourage effect, basically, in formulas that are really targeted for anxiety and sleep and daytime and nighttime pain and neuro support. So, and we also have the ability to custom blend. We have a nurse line they can call if the baseline isn't working, and we'll blend something for them. So that's still an option as well.
And that's the part that's so cool. And that's why I love nurses to have so many different options when they're working with patients to choose various different product lines. Because as we know, Janna, as we grow and change and evolve and we nourish our endocannabinoid system, our product requirements will change over time. And it's classic. It's not working for me anymore. I go, what's not working for you? And they'll say, my products aren't working anymore. And so then basically we go through the whole series of criteria. Are you still engaging in all your other health and wellness activities? And if you are, well, then maybe you need to look at what you're taking, how you're taking it, the method of administration, the cannabinoid profile, the terpene profile, and switch it up. So
a big one too, because I find that with the whole plant spectrum products, we don't get as much of that attrition that we do with the man altered products of cannabis.
Right. Yeah. So it's so fascinating. So Unity Formulas support Autism Safe Haven. So this is what I love. This is, oh my God, I watched the video. I've read the article about you and your daughter. It's just fascinating. I saw actually in the video how you drew out your house. So this is really fascinating. So for parents that are out there, families that are out there that have people with autism in their families, children, loved ones, this is a time for you to listen in. So Autism Safe Haven, Janna, tell us about that.
Autism Safe Haven. So the model for Autism Safe Haven right now, of course, we're able to access significant government support as far as funding, Medicare, Medi-Cal, all that kind of stuff. But we don't expect that will continue. We don't want to be reliant on that. So we're actually building a model of for-profit companies that are feeding the nonprofit through a B Corp, which is a benefit corporation. And Unity Formulas is one of those businesses that we have built to feed Autism Safe Haven. And as far as the formulating, one quick thing, my course that's launching in January is CBD and cannabis formulation. So I'm teaching students about the different compounds in the plant and what they do. So that's
nice.
It all fits together. It's just beautiful.
It totally fits together. Totally.
Fits. So
yeah.
Safe Haven was launched, it's inspired by my daughter, and she's 18 now. We've been looking for different care options for her because, I'm ready to kind of step back from being her primary caregiver. And there just aren't really any good options for a child with autism that's utilizing cannabis. Basically the best options entail me being on call to go and supplement her as needed, which is not respite for parents. And so we're trying to build a model that is cannabis inclusive. So meaning that the caregivers can administer or teach the residents to administer. It's also going to be focused on optimizing their potential and function and viewing behaviors as communication, which oftentimes in autism, especially when there's verbal or limited communication capabilities, behaviors are communication. So it's really
absolutely
more of a compassionate approach. Right now the other approaches are pharmaceuticals and physical restraints, which are just, we've had homes closing down, we've had kids get hurt. It's not a good approach. So we know we can do better, and we can prove to them that we can do better with less funding. And that's our goal, is to research it and then duplicate it in every legal state. So
there
that
we go.
Currently, parents in non-legal states are having to move to legal states sometimes to access cannabis for their kids. And it's a huge answer. Research supports,
well, that's it. I was going to just say, research is that we know there is, but I know that I want you to tell everyone the research that supports autism is out there. It's out there, Janna.
It's huge. My article actually cites all of it. It's on my media kit website, jannachampagne.com. It's my daughter's story, and it explains that underlying autism, there are imbalances in the gut, the neurological system, and the immune system. And it's this triad. They're all linked. And that's what mainstream is really missing. Cannabis actually targets all three of those systems and the imbalances and helps to promote balance. So not only is it a great tool for, symptom management, my daughter's behaviors went from severe self-injury, severe aggression towards others, caregivers, anybody in authority, destroyed my house. I had holes in every wall. I had holes through hardcore wood doors. I mean, it was insane. And so it mitigated that and spared her out of home placement, which huge passion maker right there. So it's great for management, but it's also targeting some of the causes of autism. And so I call it potentially curative. It's really targeting some of those underlying imbalances. And so it's and this is the research. It's out there. It's, for anybody.
I know it's out there, and you are an expert, and you've been taking care of so many patients and families, and you've developed this based on your own experience utilizing your daughter. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system in my umbrella. So when she was talking about how autism was working on all of these different conditions at the same time, all of these different systems, the three systems. So how I want you guys to think about it is the umbrella. Remember how we talk about the umbrella is our body. The top of the umbrella is the endocannabinoid system that creates internal endogenous cannabinoids similar to the plant. All the spokes of the umbrella are different organ systems, and the fabric that surrounds the umbrella that attaches to the spokes of the umbrella are the neurotransmitter signaling system. So when we introduce cannabinoids into our bodies, we want them to shower on our umbrella. So whole plant medicine is great, showering on our umbrella, and this plant starts to go where it needs to go and do what it needs to do to keep all of our body in balance. So our umbrella is going up and down nicely. Yeah. So that's huge key component as to why cannabis works on so many different conditions at the same time.
It does.
Fascinating.
Explanation. That was wonderful.
No, I love my umbrella. I know, that's why I have my umbrella.
That explains it.
Just kind of, it just breaks it down in a way. I needed to figure out how to teach this in a way because I have ADHD and I have sometimes receptive language. You know, me being able to understand things and then really process it. So I was like, what analogy can I make? What analogy can I make? And the umbrella made sense.
Well, it does, absolutely. And it's, you know, and it really explains, you know, there's this thing called endocannabinoid deficiency where we're not able to produce enough endocannabinoids to keep our body in balance, 2-AG and anandamide. And what people don't realize is those endocannabinoids we make that are vital nutrients for humans can be supplemented from the plant. And THC and CBD have that same mechanism of action as those endocannabinoids that we produce. And so they can reverse endocannabinoid deficiency, which science supports is an underlying cause of autism.
Yep, so, it totally is. And then, if you get back to the whole umbrella thing, right? We produce cannabinoids upon demand, depending upon what's going on in our umbrella. It's an on-off switch, right? So that's the part that's so fascinating. I truly love talking about this. And then the endocannabinoid deficiency. Guess what? We're not getting rained on. We want to get rained on, right? So we want to stimulate, nourish and support our endocannabinoid system in multiple different ways. Cannabinoids is one way. And then as we talk about all the time when we're educating our patients, you know, diet, nutrition, you know, avoiding fast food, fried food, fake food, artificial flavors, artificial colorings, trans fat, hydrogenated oil, sugar, and high fructose corn syrup. Get rid of it. Alcohol, motion is the lotion. We want to work out. You know, we want to stimulate our system. We want that anandamine, that bliss molecule to circulate. Yoga, mindfulness, meditation, movement, breath work, all of these different things. Laughter, right? Laughter is the best medicine.
It is.
Social interactions. So prayer, meditation, connection, all of these things support and nourish the endocannabinoid system. So as cannabis nurses, you know, Janna and I have been going back and forth for a while now and, you know, talking, and we like to consult and educate the same way. It's the whole thing. Bio, psycho, social, spiritual healing.
Absolutely.
Boom.
Holistic. And
holistic.
If people manage their stress, that actually gives the cannabis the capability to do the deeper work, because the first thing it's going to do is mitigate that stress. So if you have it managed with yoga or gardening, you know, men say they go fishing when they're stressed out, whatever works for you, do it. And it allows the cannabis to do the deeper work that way. So I love nerding out with you, Sherry. It's so much fun.
Oh, it is so much fun. It is so much fun. So one last question. So what makes Autism Safe Haven different than the current options for autism care? Just want to review that. Really want to plug Autism Safe Haven.
Thank you so much. I'm terrible at plugging, so I need a reminder. AutismSafeHaven.org is our website. There's a ton of information on there. There's a 17-minute video that gives a really good overview and talks about the journey to get there and the science for, you know, a little deeper dive into cannabis for autism science. And then the home model, which is not only, you know, cannabis inclusive, but we're also bringing in ABA therapy and doing behavior plans for these kids and being proactive and using positive reinforcement and really, you know, training our caregivers. There's so many aspects where this program is going to be very proactive and not as reactive as what's currently available, which, you know, and also treating behavior as communication instead of, you know, something to be punished. So it's really a very different approach, and it's what's worked well for my daughter. So we want to share with the world.
So where else can people find you?
My media kit website is jannachampagne.com. That kind of gives a good review of everything I'm doing, which is a lot of different things. But as I said, they all connect. They all
connect. And so they can find you at jannachampagne.com, and then that will link to other areas, all the other things that you're doing.
Yeah, that's the application. So.
All right, Janna. So one last question.
Yes.
How has, I always like to ask these questions. How has cannabis helped you? Because I'm speaking in December on a topic that is really, really important to me, because cannabis to me, the first thing cannabis ever did for me is brought me hope. Right? And that tapped into spiritual principles, helped me to become inspired, filled with spirit, right? And so hope and inspiration for growth and healing. And so the inspiration allowed me to do something different, helped me to grow and helped me to heal. And healing, as we both know, isn't the absence of illness or disease, but it's doing the best you can with what you have right here, right now. So for you, how has cannabis helped you spiritually?
Oh my gosh, just the spirit of the plant is powerful. And having worked with it, having grown it and really getting to know it, I mean, it's an amazing plant, and it has a spirit all its own. It's very healing. It's very compassionate. It teaches you, to release some of the stories and some of the trauma you've been through. In my experience, going through all of this was enormously traumatic, but it was also enormously transformational. And cannabis was part of that transformation, would be the best way I know even how to explain it. So
yeah, I get it. It helped you as you were working through human life challenges. It was a perfect adaptogen that helped you to your mind, body, and spirit to adapt, so you could continue on your journey, living your best life, right, in the present moment. And then, yeah, I think it's done that for so many of us. And I am so grateful for all that you're doing. I learn from you all the time. Janna's got Facebook page too as well, Cannabis Nurse Janna. And she's on all the other social media. We'll make sure those links are put into the comments. And thank you so much for everything you do. It was an honor to have you on the Green Nurse podcast. And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It's about living your best life.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.